G's up.
G's up. All right. Have you ever felt like a fraud?
Clicking here first, then live.
I think so.
3. Ready?
Yeah.
2, 1.
Go. Have you ever felt like a fraud? If so, stick around for this video because we're gonna share 3 tips on how to stop imposter syndrome.
You know, I think that a lot of times, you know, we've been talking about empaths a lot lately, and one of the questions that's been coming up a absolute ton, and this is from multiple people from different like medias that have gotten to us all within a short period of time, have asked us the same question. Hey, I feel like an imposter. How in the world do I deal with this? I'm so tired of, you know, going into my relationship and feeling like, oh my gosh, they're too good looking for me, or oh, they're too smart, or they're too wealthy. And when I get to work, it's like, oh my gosh, am I even qualified? And these dreams that I have, I feel like they're meant for somebody else. I know they're for me, but in my head, I keep telling myself that they're meant for someone else. How in the world do I deal with that?
If you're just tuning in, I'm Brit and this is Chris Carmichael, and together we have founded The Elevated Life, where we teach you these simple mindset shifts to create radical transformation in your life. And in this month, in the Elevated Life Membership Club, we taught how to become a badass empath. And this is the topic that came up. What if I feel like an imposter? How do I combat that? What do I do? And the truth is, you know, when you're feeling like an imposter, it's typically because you're up-leveling or elevating and changing and leaving behind the old past version of yourself.
Yeah, and so you have to realize that not only are you going through this, but so many other people are. You know, this wasn't really discovered and talked about, imposter syndrome, until the 70s. 2 women actually discovered this and figured out that so many women who were entering the workplace, who had spent a lot of time being stay-at-home moms, were going, what is going on here, and how am I the right person for this? Well, in the 90s, they figured out not only was it affecting women, but it was affecting men as well. And you also see this huge at the highest levels of achievement. When you see the celebrities, when you see the sports stars, especially people who rose to fame very quickly, who suddenly hit that viral video on YouTube or something like that, and now like everybody follows them, they have that feeling of like, oh, I'm scared now. Like my confidence level's not ready for this. My skill level's not ready for this. And so today we're gonna tell you how to start dealing with that.
And the first tip is to have awareness around it. You have to know what's going on your internal dialogue and your mindset to even be able to know how you're showing up and operating. So like I mentioned before, typically this imposter syndrome happens when something is changing in your life. Because for me, or what I have found, is that imposter syndrome isn't your entire life and your entire being. It's typically boiled down to one specific area.
Yeah, so think about that in your life. Where are you like, I'm awesome at this? I mean, are you awesome at tying your shoes? Are you awesome at walking? At one point, both of those things you couldn't even come close to doing. So where is that spot in your life where you feel like you're falling short, but where are the things where you're doing great? When you have an awareness about something, you put a space in between the thought of it and yourself. A lot of times when we're dealing with life, we feel like we are our thoughts. And so what we do is we do actions, we act out in relation to what they're telling us. But once you have an awareness about the thought, you go, oh, I'm thinking this. Other people are thinking this also, and it's not true. So you start to put some distance in, some gap. And once you have that gap there, the thought becomes available to be changed.
So take a moment to tune in and see, are there any areas where you feel like you might be an imposter? As Chris said, a lot of the high-level CEOs, celebrities, and perfectionists end up finding themselves in this position. And they're always having this thought inside their head, what if someone finds out? Well, the truth is if you're doing anything less than being your authentic self, you're being an imposter already. So it's really important for you to figure out what are those actions or beliefs that you have or take about yourself that don't align with who you really are anymore. That's the real imposter here.
Yeah, I was reading a thing by Maya Angelou, and she was saying, hey, I've written 11 books. She'd gotten to that spot in her life. She'd gone through 11 books, a lot of them huge sellers. She's been huge especially in the Black community. And she goes, I'm just waiting for them to find out I'm a fraud. 11 books. I mean, she's quoted by freaking everybody. Everyone who's everybody has quoted her in their life. I know we have in our programs and services, and it's like, she's a genius. And you realize, really, there are so many people who are dealing with this.
Yeah, so the second tip you can do to stop that imposter syndrome is to make a list of all your accomplishments, to remind yourself that you're amazing, that you've done some really incredible things in this world, and that your presence matters here. So it's really important for you to take time to reflect on all the great things that you've done, how you've shown up, how you've made a difference, the things that you're proud of, because it's easy to immediately focus on one little negative thing, and that can turn into this big, overwhelming shadow. But when you have a list of all the fucking awesome things that you've done, you remind yourself, oh my God, I'm amazing. I found myself, anytime I was feeling down, I would go to my reviews for my hair salon. And now I'm doing it with my Oracle deck. I'm like, oh my God, people love this. You know, we can all get down on ourselves sometimes. So it's important to have that place where you can go back and plug into that positivity to remind you how amazing you really are.
Yeah, and you have to be doing this consistently. It's not enough just to have the list. It's not enough just to have the reviews. I mean, I can remember the moment Brit's talking about, you know, we were sitting in the living room and she just goes, I don't even know this is right for me anymore. I mean, I know it was at one part, but you know, something's going on. And we pulled out that review list and started looking through it, and Brit was like, it was just like a renewed spark. She'd almost for a moment just forgotten who she was. And so make sure you have that list. I like to keep mine in a journal and just have everything that you've done, every little bitty small thing, so that when you start to feel that way, you come back and you look at it and you go, oh, I can do these things. It is possible for me. I am very confident. I've been confident in all these times. And if you haven't felt confident in a while, take a moment after we're done with this, close your eyes down and just picture the last time you were really confident and just step into that. Feel yourself as that, see things as you saw it, breathe as you were breathing during that moment, stand like you were standing in that moment, and just feel that. And start to let your neurology and all your physiologies catch up to that moment in your life. Because sometimes we will take downturns, sometimes we will get into funks, but it's also easy to escape that once you realize that you've done amazing things in the past and you are more than capable of doing them in the future.
So imposter syndrome typically boils down to the fear of rejection, fear of being judged by other people. And that's typically when you're showing up and offering your gifts or your service to the world. So our third tip is to stop focusing on you and make it all about adding value to who you're serving. That takes the pressure off of you because it's not about you. It's about delivering the space, the service, the talent, the skill, the love, the creativity, or whatever it is you have to offer to that person in the moment. You make it about them and you stop shining the light on you.
Yeah, I noticed when we first started doing live videos, we first started being on film, it's weird. And if anyone who's ever gone through this, it's strange in the beginning. It's strange because in the beginning, you're only focused on what you're doing. Where are your hands? Where are you looking? What's going on? And then because your mind is so, oh my gosh, yes, Ricky Bobby. Because your mind is so consumed by those things, you can't come up with thoughts. So many people go on live and they're stunned. They're like that deer in headlights. It's because they're focused on just how they look or what they're doing or is their breathing right.
Or if people are gonna judge me.
Yeah, or are people gonna show up? And for the most part, when you first start doing this stuff, no one does. And so what? Start getting your message out there. Eventually you're on there enough, you're on camera or you're on stage or wherever it is, or you're on the phone enough to where you get over that. And you start to realize that the people who find you want to listen to you. They want to buy from you, they want to do and listen to whatever it is that you're about. And once it stops becoming about you and it starts being really about the person who's important, and that's the person on the other side, then there's a big shift that happens. And you start to be able to do anything because you're 100% giving your focus onto them. What do they need from me right now? Do they need me to sit over here and worry? Or do they need me to really show up and be there for them? And so once that moment swaps and you're 100% for that other person, you just stop getting in your way. So make sure you're focusing on that value. And when you get to that moment where you're like, oh my gosh, again, what am I doing? Am I the right person for this? Focus on your skills. Go up level whatever skill you need to do. If you need to get better at something, you know, there is some sort of imposter syndrome that's true. If they were to hire me tomorrow as like an air traffic controller guy,
please don't.
We're gonna be down in a lot of airplanes. I'm not good at that. If you were to put me in the middle of a ballet group and say, hey Chris, you're gonna teach these people ballet right now.
I would like to see you in those pants though.
Oh my gosh, here we go with this. If that were the case, that's right. I would be an imposter and I would need a certain skill set, but I wouldn't need to beat myself up over it. I would just need to go get a specific amount of skills so that I could help and do well at that. But when it's just me, when I'm the one beating myself up, when I already do have the skill set and people are loving what I'm doing, I just have to get out of my own way.
Yeah, so the only fraudulent mindset here is the belief that you don't think you're amazing and worthy to just be as you are. Whether you're changing or not, it's okay to leave the past version of you behind. And with the quadruple retrograde happening this week, I tell you what, it's going to be a total time of transformation and renewal over the next upcoming months. So give yourself space to really explore those areas where you feel less than, where you have fear coming up, where you feel like you need to level up your skills. Take time to go inward and really decide what is it that you need to be able to show up and feel 100% confident, because confidence is a choice, and the only thing that's stopping you is that ability to see that you really are amazing.
You know, you brought something earlier about how this starts to happen, why imposter syndrome is such a thing, and you're talking about fear of rejection, fear of loss of love. And I think really imposter syndrome comes up because when we're kids, we are praised for our accomplishments. And we are ridiculed for when we make a mistake or when we have any kind of failure. And so when we get into our adult lives, we start to feel any little bitty mistake that we make means that we're no longer lovable. Someone will come out and figure out, oh my gosh, we're not perfect, so that means we don't get love in return. Because parents will shower you with love as long as you do what they want you to do. It's just kind of part of them trying to teach you stuff. You know, they want you to make good grades, you do bad grades, suddenly you're not smart, you're stupid. They take their love away. And so you feel like when you go out into the regular world, when you move beyond the child phase of your life and you're really out there, then it feels like if you make a mistake, then that's gonna be the end of it. But if you've been in business, or you've had any kind of success, or you tried something for a long time and really mastered it, you know how much failure it takes along the way. And no part of that means that you are any less lovable. Nothing that you can do. If you were to stop right now, I realize we live in a society that praises accomplishment and just absolutely destroys people who just like sitting or being and doing.
Or messing up.
Yeah, and so you have to get to a place where you realize that you're lovable no matter what you do. If you don't make another accomplishment from this day forward, if you don't do anything special with the rest of your life, if you're not number one at whatever it is, who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. That's not what's important. Life is about being joyful, being around other people, praising, having gratitude, noticing all the beauty that's around you. It's not about being here and being depressed and being sad, overworking, being a perfectionist. If those are the two things that are holding you back, let those things go. It's a great weekend right now for you to let those two things go.
Man, you are on a roll. Sammy says, oh my gosh, you guys, delivering the medicine today. Holy smokes, this has been such a powerful topic that's been coming up a lot, especially around the conversation we've been having inside the membership club on becoming a badass empath. Because if you've been a doormat and no boundaries at all, and you start to put those in place and have those consequences, people are gonna start to communicate back, question, start to, like dig their claws into you because you're reclaiming your power and taking it away, especially if you're in a toxic narcissistic relationship. The more you set those boundaries and the more you reclaim your power, the more they're gonna throw those punches. So you have to become a fucking badass to deal with the kind of toxic people that we end up attracting into our life until we learn how to set those boundaries.
Yeah, so take a look at those few steps right there.
Yep.
Ditch the overworking, stop the perfectionism, create incredible boundaries, and stick to them.
Yes. All right, let me tune in. Carrie says, I needed this message this morning. You guys are so awesome. Gosh. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate all the love and support. If you know someone who would love or needs this message, please tag them below. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you got to do to share the good vibes. We appreciate the support here on the Elevated Life series. You know, one thing we're super excited about is that the Elevated Life podcast is coming. We love joining you for the Elevated Life series, but we know that you want to take this wisdom on the go and you can't always tune into the live videos. So we're going to create a beautiful collection of all of the wisdom that we've dropped over the last few years inside the Elevated Life podcast. So I want to know, are you excited about that? Are you someone who loves diving in and getting lost in podcast material? Let us know below if you're excited about that, and we will see you guys next Friday for the Elevated Life series. Peace. Bye guys.